Before cities learned to rise from stone, before kingdoms carved their names into history, before maps divided the world into borders and nations, there was desert. Not empty, not silent, but alive in a way few places on earth still are. Wadi Rum stretches across southern Jordan like a forgotten ocean. Waves of red sand frozen in time, guarded by mountains that have stood for hundreds of millions of years. The wind moves gently here, whispering across the valley floor, carrying grains of sand that have traveled farther than most civilizations ever will. At sunrise, the sandstone cliffs ignite with color, deep crimson, burnt orange, and gold. By midday, the desert becomes vast and endless, stretching toward the horizon like another planet. And when night arrives, the sky opens into an ocean of stars so bright and countless that the darkness itself seems to disappear. Here, silence is not emptiness. It is memory. Every canyon has been carved by wind and time. Every stone surface holds the marks of vanished oceans, ancient rivers, and tectonic forces that reshaped continents. Every valley has witnessed footsteps, from prehistoric hunters to caravan traders to Bedouin nomads who still move with the rhythm of the desert. Wadi Rum does not measure time the way humans do. Here, centuries pass like moments. Empires rise and fall like shifting dunes, and yet the desert remains, patient, unmoved, eternal. To stand in Wadi Rum is to stand inside Earth's memory. To walk its valleys is to follow paths carved long before history learned how to write itself. Because this is not just a landscape. It is a reminder that nature creates slowly, that time is vast, and that long after we are gone, the desert will still be here, listening to the wind and remembering everything. Wadi Rum lies in the far south of Jordan, close to the border with Saudi Arabia, within the wider Hizma Desert region. At first glance, it appears like a world carved entirely from red stone and sand. But beneath its beauty lies one of the most complex geological stories in the Middle East. The landscape is dominated by massive sandstone mountains that rise sharply from wide open valleys. These isolated mountain blocks, known as Inselbergs, stand like islands in a sea of desert sand. Some rise hundreds of meters into the sky, their vertical walls shaped by wind, water, and time. But Wadi Rum did not begin as a desert. More than 1 billion years ago, the foundation of this landscape formed deep underground as molten rock cooled and hardened into granite. Over hundreds of millions of years, erosion exposed this granite surface. Later, ancient rivers flowing across prehistoric continents deposited thick layers of quartz-rich sand on top of it. As pressure built over geological time, these sand layers compressed and hardened into sandstone, the same sandstone that now forms Wadi Rum's cliffs, canyons, and natural arches. Between roughly 540 and 470 million years ago, shallow seas periodically covered the region. These ancient waters deposited additional sediment layers, adding to the complexity of the rock formations we see today. Then came tectonic movement, the slow shifting of Earth's crust. The formation of the Red Sea Rift system caused the land to fracture and rise. Fault lines lifted entire sections of rock upward, creating mountain ranges while leaving valleys between them. Over time, erosion began shaping the newly exposed landscape. Wind became the primary sculptor. Unlike wetter regions where rivers carve valleys quickly, Wadi Rum's transformation happened slowly. Sand carried by desert winds sandblasted rock surfaces for millions of years, smoothing some areas while carving deep channels in others. Occasional rainfall, rare but powerful, helped shape narrow canyons known locally as etched. When flash floods moved through these channels, they cut deeper into the sandstone, reshaping the landscape grain by grain. One of Wadi Rum's most famous geological features is its natural rock bridges and arches. These form when wind and water erode softer rock layers beneath harder upper layers, eventually leaving behind stone arches suspended against the sky. The region's deep red color comes from iron oxide, essentially rust, embedded within the sandstone. When sunlight strikes the mountains at sunrise and sunset, the iron minerals reflect warm red and orange tones, giving Wadi Rum its famous Martian appearance. But Wadi Rum is not a frozen landscape. Even today, geological forces are still shaping it. In some areas, tectonic uplift continues slowly, raising parts of the land while erosion works constantly to wear it down. This creates a rare balance where mountains can remain visible for extremely long geological periods. Beneath the visible desert lies another hidden system: underground water reservoirs trapped between granite and sandstone layers. These aquifers have supported life here for thousands of years, allowing plants, animals, and human communities to survive in an environment that otherwise appears hostile to life. Wadi Rum is not just a desert valley. It is a geological archive, a record of ancient oceans, shifting continents, rising mountains, and endless erosion. Every cliff face tells a story millions of years long. Every grain of sand is a fragment of ancient stone, carried and reshaped by time itself. To study Wadi Rum is to study Earth's deep past. To stand within it is to witness geology still in motion, slow, patient, and unstoppable. Wadi Rum is a land shaped by extremes. Rain is rare here, sometimes only falling a few times each year. Months can pass under clear skies without a single drop touching the sand. When rain does arrive, it often comes suddenly, in short and powerful bursts. For a brief moment, dry riverbeds awaken. Water rushes through narrow canyons, and the desert seems to breathe again. But the water disappears quickly, absorbed into sand, trapped in underground rock layers, or evaporated by the desert sun. Summer temperatures in Wadi Rum can climb above 40 degrees Celsius. The sun burns intensely across open valleys and exposed rock faces, heating the sandstone until it radiates warmth long after sunset. Yet winter tells a different story. At night, temperatures can drop close to freezing, especially in the open desert where nothing traps the heat. This dramatic temperature swing, scorching days and cold nights, defines life here. The desert ecosystem is not built on abundance. It is built on efficiency. Many plants and animals survive by timing their activity carefully. Seeds remain dormant beneath the sand for months or years, waiting for rainfall. When moisture arrives, they sprout quickly, grow fast, and produce seeds before the water disappears again. Underground, hidden water reserves exist between granite and sandstone layers. These natural aquifers have allowed life to exist here for thousands of years. Small pockets of vegetation often grow above these hidden water sources, forming islands of life in an ocean of sand. Wind also plays a major role in shaping the ecosystem. It moves sand dunes slowly across the landscape, redistributing nutrients and reshaping habitats. Some plants even depend on wind-blown sand to protect their roots from extreme heat. Wadi Rum's ecosystem may appear empty at first glance, but it is actually a finely balanced system. Each organism, from microscopic soil bacteria to desert mammals, plays a role in maintaining survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Here, survival is not about strength, it is about patience, adaptation, and knowing when to wait and when to act. At first glance, Wadi Rum appears almost lifeless, but look closer, and the desert begins to reveal its hidden world. Plant life in Wadi Rum is sparse but remarkably specialized. Acacia trees grow in areas where underground moisture is reachable by deep root systems. These trees are vital to the desert ecosystem. Their shade lowers ground temperatures, allowing smaller plants and insects to survive beneath them. Desert grasses and small shrubs grow in protected soil pockets between rocks. Many have tiny leaves or wax-coated surfaces that reduce water loss. Some plants only exist as seeds for most of their life cycle, waiting silently beneath the sand until rainfall triggers sudden growth. After rare rains, parts of the desert can briefly bloom with small flowers, a reminder that life is always waiting just beneath the surface. Animal life is equally adapted. Small mammals, such as desert foxes and hares, survive by being mostly nocturnal, avoiding daytime heat. Rodents dig underground burrows that remain cooler than surface temperatures, creating safe shelter from predators and extreme climate. Reptiles are masters of desert survival. Lizards and snakes use camouflage colors that blend perfectly with sand and rock. Many can regulate body temperature by moving between sun and shade throughout the day. Birds of prey soar above the cliffs, using rising heat currents from sun-warmed rock to glide with minimal energy. Migratory birds sometimes pass through Wadi Rum seasonally, using the desert as a temporary stop along ancient migration routes. Insects, often unseen, form the foundation of the desert food chain. They pollinate plants, recycle organic material, and provide food for birds and reptiles. Without them, the entire ecosystem would collapse. Many desert animals survive on moisture gained from food rather than drinking water directly, an adaptation that allows life to continue where open water is nearly non-existent. Life in Wadi Rum is quiet, hidden, efficient. Nothing here wastes energy. Nothing survives by accident. Every plant, every animal, every microscopic organism represents thousands of years of evolution, perfectly shaped for survival in heat, dryness, and isolation. In Wadi Rum, life does not fight the desert, it becomes part of it. For thousands of years, Wadi Rum has never truly been empty. Long before modern borders, before paved roads, before satellites and global maps, people lived here, moved through here, and built their identity around this desert landscape. Among them, the Bedouin became the true guardians of Wadi Rum. To the Bedouin, the desert is not harsh, it is home. Their knowledge of Wadi Rum is not written in books. It is carried in memory, passed through generations. Knowledge of hidden water sources, seasonal wind patterns, star navigation, and the behavior of animals and plants. Survival here depends not on conquering nature, but understanding it. Traditional Bedouin life revolves around movement and balance. Camels, goats, and sheep provided food, clothing, and trade goods. Tents made from goat hair offered portable shelter, designed to withstand wind, sand, and temperature extremes. Even today, many Bedouin families maintain deep connections to this traditional lifestyle, even as modern influences grow around them. Hospitality is central to Bedouin culture. In the vast silence of the desert, every visitor matters. Sharing tea, food, and shelter is not simply kindness. It is survival tradition shaped by centuries of living in isolation. But Wadi Rum is more than a physical homeland. For many Bedouin, it is spiritual ground. The desert teaches patience. It teaches humility. It reminds people that survival depends on cooperation, with nature, with animals, and with each other. Many oral traditions describe the desert as alive with memory. Stories passed through generations speak of ancestors traveling through the valleys, of ancient tribes, and of sacred places marked by unusual rock formations or ancient carvings. Some researchers believe Wadi Rum may lie near ancient human migration pathways from Africa into the Middle East, making it part of humanity's earliest journeys across continents. This possibility gives the desert a deeper symbolic meaning, as a place where humanity itself once walked into the future. In Bedouin poetry and storytelling, the desert is often described as a teacher. It strips away excess. It forces clarity. It reveals what truly matters: water, shelter, family, and trust. Modern Bedouin communities now play a central role in tourism within Wadi Rum. Many serve as guides, camp hosts, and cultural ambassadors, sharing traditional food, music, and stories with visitors from around the world. Yet beneath these modern interactions remains something ancient. a relationship between people and landscape that has lasted thousands of years. In Wadi Rum, culture is not separate from nature. It is shaped by it, protected by it, and remembered through it. Wadi Rum is not only a natural monument, it is a historical archive carved directly into stone. Across its cliffs and rock faces, thousands of ancient inscriptions and petroglyphs tell stories of people who passed through this desert long before written history as we know it today. Some of these carvings are over 12,000 years old, showing animals, hunting scenes, tribal symbols, and early writing systems. These markings were not random decorations. They were messages, records, proof of existence. Ancient travelers carved their names, prayers, and stories into rock surfaces, turning Wadi Rum into one of the largest open-air historical records in the region. These inscriptions include early North Arabian scripts and other ancient writing systems that help historians understand how language and communication evolved across the Arabian Peninsula. For thousands of years, Wadi Rum was part of major trade routes connecting southern Arabia with the Levant and Mediterranean world. Caravans carrying spices, incense, textiles, and precious goods crossed these valleys. The desert served as both pathway and protection, difficult to cross but safer from large armies or political conflict. These trade routes transformed Wadi Rum into a meeting place of cultures. Traders, nomads, soldiers, and pilgrims all left traces of their presence, turning the desert into a crossroads of civilizations. In the early 20th century, Wadi Rum entered modern global history during the Arab Revolt against the Ottoman Empire. British officer Thomas Edward Lawrence, later known as Lawrence of Arabia, worked alongside Arab forces, using deep knowledge of desert geography to conduct guerrilla warfare operations. Wadi Rum served as a strategic base, offering natural protection through its mountains and hidden valleys. Lawrence later described Wadi Rum as vast, echoing, and almost spiritual in its scale, descriptions that would later shape how the world imagined this desert. His writings and later the famous film Lawrence of Arabia introduced Wadi Rum to international audiences, transforming it from a remote desert region into a symbol of mystery, adventure, and historical significance. Yet even beyond Lawrence's story, Wadi Rum's historical importance remains much deeper. It represents thousands of years of human movement, from prehistoric hunters to ancient traders, from nomadic tribes to modern explorers. Every inscription carved into stone is proof that people once stood here, looked at the same mountains, and felt the same sense of awe. Wadi Rum does not preserve history in museums or books. It preserves history in rock, sand, and silence, where the past is not forgotten, only waiting to be rediscovered. For most of human history, Wadi Rum was known only to those who lived within it: Bedouin tribes, traders, and travelers crossing the desert. But in the modern era, the world began to discover what had been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. The turning point came in the 20th century. After the global success of Lawrence of Arabia in 1962, audiences around the world saw Wadi Rum's vast red valleys and towering sandstone mountains for the first time. The desert became more than a remote location. It became a symbol of mystery, history, and epic storytelling. In the decades that followed, filmmakers returned again and again. Wadi Rum's landscape, with its red sands and alien-like rock formations, made it a perfect stand-in for other planets. Major films, including science fiction productions, used Wadi Rum to represent Mars and other distant worlds. Yet cinema only revealed part of Wadi Rum's modern story. Tourism slowly grew into one of the region's most important economic lifelines. Visitors now travel from across the world to experience jeep safaris through desert valleys, camel treks along ancient routes, rock climbing on towering sandstone walls, and nights spent under skies so clear that the Milky Way appears as a glowing river across the darkness. Bedouin communities became central to this transformation. Many now operate desert camps, guide tours, and share traditional food, music, and storytelling with visitors. Tourism created new economic opportunities while also helping preserve cultural traditions by sharing them with the world. Today, Wadi Rum stands at a unique intersection: ancient landscape, living culture, and global destination. Visitors come searching for adventure, for silence, for connection to something older than civilization itself. And often, they leave changed, carrying with them a memory of a place where time feels slower and the world feels infinitely larger. Wadi Rum may appear eternal, but like all natural environments, it is vulnerable. The rise of tourism, while vital for local communities, brings new pressures to the desert ecosystem. Off-road vehicle traffic can damage fragile desert soil, crush plant life, and disturb wildlife habitats. Even footsteps in certain areas can leave marks that last for years in such a delicate environment. Ancient inscriptions and petroglyphs face risk from accidental damage, vandalism, and environmental wear. These carvings have survived for thousands of years, but modern activity can threaten them in only decades. Climate change adds another layer of uncertainty. Changes in rainfall patterns could affect underground water reserves that sustain plant and animal life. Rising temperatures may push already fragile species beyond their survival limits. Recognizing these risks, conservation efforts have grown stronger in recent decades. Wadi Rum is now a protected area, with regulations designed to control vehicle routes, limit construction, and protect archaeological sites. Sustainable tourism programs encourage visitors to minimize environmental impact while supporting local Bedouin communities. Many conservation strategies focus on balance, allowing people to experience the desert while protecting it from irreversible damage. Because Wadi Rum is more than a tourist destination, it is a living record of Earth's history, a cultural homeland, and an ecosystem that exists on a delicate edge between survival and loss. Protecting Wadi Rum is not only about saving a landscape, it is about preserving a story, one written over millions of years, that once lost, can never be rewritten. The future of Wadi Rum will be shaped by choices made today. As global travel continues to grow, more people are discovering the desert's beauty, its silence, its vast skies, and its ancient landscapes. Tourism offers economic stability for local Bedouin communities, creating opportunities through guiding, hospitality, and cultural experiences. But growth also brings responsibility. Sustainable tourism is no longer an option. It is a necessity. Efforts are already underway to protect Wadi Rum's fragile environment. Controlled vehicle routes help reduce damage to sand dunes and plant life. Regulations limit construction within protected zones. Conservation programs monitor wildlife populations and protect archaeological sites. Local Bedouin communities play a critical role in this future. Their traditional knowledge of the desert, how to move through it without damaging it, how to find water without exhausting it, offers lessons modern tourism can learn from. Future sustainability plans focus on balance, encouraging eco-friendly camps, promoting responsible travel education, and ensuring tourism growth does not erase the very landscape visitors come to see. Technology may also help, using satellite monitoring, environmental data tracking, and sustainable infrastructure to reduce human impact. If managed wisely, Wadi Rum can remain both a cultural homeland and a global destination. Because the true value of Wadi Rum is not only in what we see today, but in whether future generations will be able to stand in this same desert and feel the same silence, the same wonder, the same connection to something timeless. Wadi Rum is older than history, older than language, older than memory itself. It has watched oceans come and go. It has felt the footsteps of hunters, traders, warriors, and travelers whose names are now lost to time. And still, it remains. In the vast quiet of the desert, something becomes clear. Human life is brief. Civilizations rise and fall, but nature moves on a different scale. slow, patient, and eternal. Wadi Rum reminds us that we are not separate from the earth. We are part of its story. And long after our cities fade, after our borders disappear, after our voices fall silent, the desert will still be here, listening to the wind, holding the memory of everything that came before, and waiting, as it always has, beneath an endless sky filled with stars.